Welcome back to the Classical Liberal Arts Academy's Petty School Reading Program. In this lesson, we'll continue our study of language and reading in the classical tradition. Let's go ahead and get started. Thus far in Petty School Reading, we have learned about the 5 Latin vowels: a, e, I, o, and u. We learned that vowels are sounds made with the voice alone. Vowels are sounds made with the voice alone. And we learned that of all the Latin letters, 5 are vowels. Which vowel is in the red box? That's the vowel A. Which vowel is in the yellow box? That's the vowel E. Which vowel is in the green box? That's the vowel E. Which vowel is in the orange box? That's the vowel O. And lastly, which vowel is in the light blue box? That's the vowel U. The 5 Latin vowels A, E, I, O, and U. We also learned that consonants are sounds that must be spoken with a vowel. Consonants are sounds that must be spoken with a vowel. And we learned that every letter in the Latin alphabet that is not a vowel is a consonant. All of the letters in the dark blue boxes are consonants. Thus far in Petty School Reading, we have learned the consonants B, K, D, F, G, H, K, L, M, N, and P. You should be able to read and spell any syllable with those consonants. In this lesson, we are going to learn the next consonant, which is the letter Q. Q. Find the letter in the dark blue box and look at it carefully. This is the consonant Q. Point to the green dot on your screen and look carefully at this consonant. This is the consonant Q. Q. You can see that it looks like an O with a little tail. This is the consonant Q, and any time that we see the consonant Q, we read it with the sound K, K. Let's practice reading Latin syllables with the consonant Q. We'll start with syllables that begin with a vowel and end with the consonant Q. Point to the green dot under the vowel A and we'll begin. Ak, ak, ak. Now let's begin with the vowel E and finish with the consonant Q. Point to the green dot under the vowel E and we'll begin. Ek, ek, ek. And now we'll begin with the vowel E and finish with the consonant Ku. Point to the green dot under the vowel E. Eek, eek, eek. And now we'll begin with the vowel O and end with the consonant Ku. Point to the green dot under the vowel O and we'll begin. Oak, oak, oak. And lastly, we'll begin with the vowel Oo and end with the consonant Ku. Point to the green dot under the vowel Oo and we'll begin. Ook, ook, ook. Now that you can read syllables that begin with a vowel and end with the consonant Ku, let's practice spelling syllables with the consonant Ku. I'll read a syllable and you spell it. Spell the syllable oak, oak. You should have spelled O-ku, oak. Spell for me the syllable ak, ak. You should have spelled a-ku, ak. Spell for me the syllable ache, ache. You should have spelled e-ku, ache. Spell for me the syllable ook, ook. You should have spelled oo-ku, ook. Lastly, spell the syllable eek, eek. You should have spelled e-ku, eek. Now let's practice reading syllables that begin with the consonant Ku and end with a vowel. Here we'll begin with the consonant Ku and end with the vowel A. Point to the green dot under the consonant Ku and we'll begin. Ka, ka, ka. Now let's read a syllable that begins with the consonant Ku and ends with the vowel E. Point to the green dot under the consonant Ku and we'll begin. Ke, ke, ke. Now let's read a syllable that begins with the consonant Ku and ends with the vowel E. Point to the green dot under the consonant Ku and read this syllable with me. Key, key, key. Next, we'll read a syllable that begins with the consonant Ku and ends with the vowel O. Point to the green dot under the consonant Ku and we'll begin. Ko, ko, ko. You can see that the letter Ku and the letter O look very similar. The only difference is that the consonant ku has the little tail. Can you see the little tail? That's how you know a letter ku. And lastly, we'll read a syllable that begins with the consonant ku and ends with the vowel oo. Point to the green dot under the consonant ku and read this syllable with me. Ku, ku, ku. Now that you can read syllables that begin with the consonant ku and end in a vowel, let's practice spelling them. I'll read a syllable that begins with the consonant ku, and you tell me how to spell it. Spell for me the syllable ku, ku. You should have spelled ku, oo, ku. Spell for me the syllable ko, ko. You should have spelled ku, o, ko. Spell for me the syllable ki, ki. You should have spelled ku, e, ki. Spell the syllable ke, ke. You should have spelled ku, e, ke. And lastly, spell the syllable ka, ka. You should have spelled ku, a, ka. The consonant ku is very special. It's almost always followed by the vowel oo. When we read the consonant ku and the vowel oo, we say ku, ku. But usually there's another vowel after the oo. Let's learn how to read the consonant ku, oo, and another vowel. Here you can see a syllable that begins with the consonant ku, goes on to the vowel oo, and ends with the vowel a. To read this syllable, we simply combine all of the sounds together as we read one letter at a time. Point to the green dot under the consonant ku and we'll begin. Kuwa, kuwa, kuwa. Now let's begin with the consonant ku, move on to the vowel oo, and finish with the vowel e. Point to the green dot under the consonant ku and we'll begin. Kue, kue, kue. Do you see how we begin with the consonant, move on to the vowel oo, and finish with the sound of the vowel e? We simply combine the sounds of all the letters. Now let's read a syllable that begins with the consonant ku, continues with the vowel oo, and ends with the vowel e. Point to the green dot under the consonant ku and we'll begin. Kui, kui, kui. Now let's read a syllable that begins with ku, continues with u, and ends with o. Point to the green dot under the consonant ku and we'll begin. Kuo, kuo, kuo. Remember, we're practicing with these syllables because the consonant ku is almost always followed by the vowel u and another vowel. This last syllable may look a little bit funny because there are two u's. We simply read them one at a time, just like the other syllables. So point to the green dot under the consonant ku and we'll begin. Ku, ku, ku. Did you hear the two u's? Let's try one more. Ku. Now that you can read each of these special syllables that begins with ku, u, and ends with another vowel, let's practice spelling them. I'll read a syllable and you spell it. Let's begin. Spell the syllable kui, kui. You should have spelled ku, u, e, kui. Spell the syllable kua, kua. You should have spelled ku, u, a, kua. Spell for me the syllable kuo, kuo. You should have spelled ku, u, o, kuo. Spell the syllable kue, kue. You should have spelled ku, u, e, kue. And lastly, spell ku, ku. You should have spelled ku, u, u. That's the special syllable with the two u's. These may take some extra practice, so you may want to stop here, review, and work on these some more. By now, you should be able to read or spell any Latin syllable that contains the consonant ku. Let's read the top row. Ak, ek, eek, ok, and ook. Let's read the green row. Ka, ke, ki, ko, and ku. Now let's read the orange row. Remember, these are the special syllables where ku is followed by u and then another vowel. Qua, kue, kui, kuo, ku. You may again want to practice these special syllables because usually when you see the consonant ku, it will be followed by the vowel u and another vowel. If you've been paying attention in petty school reading and learning all of your lessons, you may have a question. We've learned 3 consonants that all have the same sound. We learned the consonant ke the consonant ka and the consonant ku, and we said that each of them should be read with the sound k, k. If they all have the same sound, then how do we know which one to use when we're spelling a word? If I said to you, spell for me the syllable ak, ak, how would you know which consonant to use? They all make the same sounds. Let me explain to you how to know which consonant to use. Knowing when to use the consonant ke or ka or ku is really not that difficult. The consonant ke, here in the red box, is used in Latin words, words that come from Latin. So if you knew that a word came from Latin, then you would know the sound k was spelled with the letter ke. The letter ka in the green box comes from Greek. So if you knew that a word came from Greek, you would use the letter ka for the sound k. The letter ku is usually followed by the sound u. And if you heard a syllable that sounded like ku, you would usually know that it was spelled with the consonant ku. There are some words, though, that are spelled with the letter ku without the u, and you'll just have to remember them by memory. So remember, if the word is Latin, it's spelled with the consonant ke. If the word is from Greek, the sound k is spelled with the consonant ka. And if you hear a syllable that it sounds like ku, or a special word that you remember was spelled with a ku, then you'll know it should be spelled with the consonant ku. It's really not that difficult, and you won't have any problem with this in the future. Now let's go on and learn the next consonant. Point to the dark blue box and look carefully at this consonant. This consonant is R. R. If you have a hard time saying R, you can just say R. R. Point to the green dot and look very carefully at this Latin consonant. This consonant is named R. R. If you remember the consonant P, you'll see that the letter R is simply the consonant P with a tail. Any time that we see the consonant R in writing, we read it with the sound R. R. If you can't make that sound, you can read it with the sound R. R. But you should work to make the sound R. R. Let's practice reading some Latin syllables that begin with vowels and end with the consonant R. Here, we'll begin with the vowel A. Point to the green dot under A and we'll begin. Ar. 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 Now let's begin with the vowel E and finish with the consonant R. Point to the green dot under the vowel E and read this syllable with me. Er. er, er. And now we'll begin with the vowel E and end with the consonant R. Point to the green dot under the vowel E and we'll begin. Ir, ir, ir. Now we'll begin with the vowel O and end with the consonant R. Point to the green dot under the vowel O and we'll begin. Or, or, or. Remember, if you have a hard time making the sound R, you can make the sound R and read it like this. Or, or, or. But keep practicing until you can say or. And lastly, we'll begin with the vowel U and finish with the consonant R. Point to the green dot under the vowel U and we'll read this syllable. Ur, ur, ur. And now that you can read any Latin syllable that begins with a vowel and ends with the consonant R, let's practice spelling them. I'll read a syllable and you spell it. Spell for me the syllable air, air. You should have spelled air, air. Spell for me the syllable ur, ur. You should have spelled ur, ur. Spell for me the syllable ar, ar. You should have spelled ar, ar. Spell for me the syllable or, or. You should have spelled o, or. And lastly, spell for me the syllable ear, ear. You should have spelled e, ear. Now let's practice reading syllables that begin with the consonant R and end with a vowel. Point to the green dot under the consonant R and we'll begin. Ra, ra, ra. Now let's begin with the consonant R and finish with the vowel E. Point to the green dot under the consonant R and we'll begin. Re, re, re. This time we'll finish with the vowel E. Point to the green dot under the consonant R and we'll begin. Re, re, re. Now we'll begin with the consonant R and end with the vowel O. Point to the green dot under the consonant R and we'll begin. Ro, ro, ro. And lastly, we'll begin with the consonant R and finish with the vowel U. Point to the green dot under the consonant R and read this syllable with me. Ru, ru, ru. Now that you can read any Latin syllable that begins with the consonant R and ends with a vowel, let's practice spelling them. I'll read a syllable and you spell it. Spell for me the syllable ru, ru. You should have spelled R-U, ru. Spell for me the syllable ro, ro. You should have spelled R-O, ro. Spell the syllable re, re. You should have spelled R-E, re. Spell the syllable re, re. You should have spelled R-E, re. And lastly, spell the syllable ra, ra. You should have spelled R-A, ra. In this lesson, we've learned to read and spell all of these syllables on the screen. In the red row on top, we learned ak, ek, ik, ok, and ook. In the green row, we learned ka, ke, ki, ko, and ku. In the light blue row, we learned kua, kue, kui, kuo, and kuu. In the orange row, we learned ar, ir, or, and ur. And lastly, in the dark blue row, we learned ra, re, ri, ro, and ru. Keep practicing these syllables. The consonant ku can be very difficult, especially when it's followed by an u and another vowel. And also, practice with the consonant er, because that pronunciation can be difficult. After this lesson, you should be able to read and spell any of these syllables. You should have your mother or your father or one of your brothers or sisters quiz you on reading and spelling these syllables. If you get some wrong, just go back to your old lessons and review. You should also be able to read or spell any of these syllables, so practice these too. And there's even more. You should now know all of these syllables. So you've got a lot of practicing to do. Again, ask someone to quiz you. Point to a syllable and you read it for them. Or have them read a syllable and you spell it for them. The more you practice, the easier this will be, and the faster you'll learn to read perfectly. We hope you've enjoyed this lesson in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy's Petty School reading program. We'll continue our study of language and reading in our next lesson. God bless.